Welcome back, Natural Resources. We are going to finish up this unit between this week and the week after Thanksgiving, and then we'll start preparing for the final exam. Today, we're going to start taking a look at some of the habitats for wildlife. Obviously, depending on the wildlife, depends on what kind of habitat that they're going to live in. Um, Basically, whenever we're looking at habitats, we're looking at food, we're looking at some sort of cover or shelter. We're looking at water. We are looking for their home range and their territory. So all these things are part of an animal's habitat. And typically, whenever you think about um, habitats, like with us as humans, we think about the houses that we live in. And then with animals, especially wild animals, and you think about things like territory and their home range, it's kind of like if somebody came into your house, you would want to defend your territory. And so there are a lot of times whenever we're looking at territories, and we don't necessarily think about that as being a necessity, but it kind of is. And so whenever we're looking at habitats, we're looking at where the animal lives, specifically, the kind of their home area. And there sometimes are also other animals that live within that area as well. Some animals live in packs or schools, or herds. So it kind of just depends on the animal that you're talking about, where they live. The food that they're going to be eating, it kind of just depends on a lot of things. It depends on whether they're birds, fish, four-legged mammals, whether they're amphibians, reptiles. So it kind of just depends on the animal and what they're going to eat. But they do need whatever food that is available needs to be readily accessible for them in their particular habitat. We do have a tendency to classify animals by the food variety that they eat, and the Euryphagus are going to consume lots of different varieties of food. And then the Cinephagus are going to eat a specialized diet. So it kind of just depends on the animal that you're looking at. It depends on their digestive system. Back in Animal Science 1, for some of you that have had that course, we look at ruminant versus monogastric digestive system versus poultry digestive system. So a lot of that has to do with what the animal actually eats and can digest. The classification by food type: herbivores are going to be those animals that eat plants. Carnivores are going to be meat eaters. As humans, we're omnivores, and we do both. And so they eat lots of different types of foods. Insectivores are going to be insect eaters. Frugivores are going to be fruit eaters. And then seed eaters are spermivores. And so most of the time, when you think about these words, you hear herbivore and carnivore a lot. You hear omnivore some too, but you don't really spend a whole lot of time hearing those other food classifications, just because there aren't as many animals that fit into those categories as what fit into the herbivore, carnivore, omnivore categories. These foxes, obviously, you're in a fox den. Their cover needs to be a place where they can be protected from weather, also a place where they can be protected from predators. And this looks like a pretty good den for these foxes. Water is going to be absolutely necessary in some sort of form, whether it's a pond, a stream, a river. It just kind of depends on where that animal is going to be. Most animals are up to 60 to 80% of their body is water, and so water is necessary for temperature control. Water is necessary for carrying nutrients throughout the body, and blood composition and things like that. So we have to have water in our diets, and animals are going to have some way to get to a water source. Yes, there are some foods that are going to be more water dense than others, and so those animals might not need as big of a water source, but they are still going to need some sort of a water source. This is a lovely picture of a lion marking his territory, and animals will do that. Their home range is going to be the area over which they travel. It could be an acre, it could be a couple of acres, it could be a mile or a square mile. So, that home range is just kind of where they travel from day to day. But the territory that they live in, it tends to be where they go back to, kind of like their home base. And that's going to be the area that an animal is going to defend. And sometimes it's to the death. And sometimes they will leave little hints that you're in their territory, just like this lion is um, marking his territory here. So, a little bit about habitats. In the next video, we'll be looking at some animal management stuff, how we manage animal populations, and that will actually be the last video that we'll do, because the rest of the PowerPoint is wildlife identification, and so I will let you kind of take a look at those on your own. So we'll finish up the next video, and then that will be the last video that you have for the course. So talk to you